Hi, my name is Kendall Foster, host of the new podcast, Fostering the Next Generation. Let's have a conversation about mentorship. Without further ado, let's get started. We're so glad you chose to spend time with us today. A few weeks ago, I started a conversation around the base on the importance of mentorship and how we can build relationships that improve our people today and into the future. It's hard to talk mentorship or building tomorrow's leaders without thinking about our first guest. We have not seen or heard from this giant in many months since he took off the uniform and started serving our airmen and families in a different capacity. I don't have to give his bio because we all know him so well. Please help welcome our 18th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Kaleth Wright, to Fostering the Next Generation. My co-host, Mr. Draper, who is a longtime friend of our Chief and the Violent Prevention Integrator here at RAF Mildenhall, will also join us in the discussion around mentorship. Let's not waste any more time. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Paint a picture for me as to what has occurred in your life to make you so focused on building others and building folks and building a legacy through mentorship?
Well, what really occurred in my life is, and this story is well told, so I don't want to repeat it too much, but the story of Joe Wimbush, who was my mentor from the time that I first came in the Air Force, who really took care of me and helped me become a better person and become a better man. And so I just took what he did for me. You know, I watched him and I learned from him, and I tried to do the same thing for, people who were coming up behind me, to provide them the blueprint to be successful. And I, so Joe Wimbush, even though he was always been there, he's still there today. But later in my career, I ran across, people like Mr. Draper, J.D. Davis. And so they showed me the same thing. Hey, man, here's how to be successful. Here are some of the pitfalls. Here are some of the things that you won't be able to read in any book, in any chief manual, command chief book, but some of the things that you need to think about. So really all I'm doing is paying it forward, because I was fortunate enough to have great people up in my life. And I think, Mr. Draper could probably tell you from his own experience, the importance of mentorship and all the great things he did for me and so many others that I watched him do the same thing, right?
One interaction can change, your entire trajectory of where you're going. I think it's really important to understand that, put mentorship in the forefront as we continue to talk about it, as we continue to unravel what the word mentorship means. So going with that train of thought, a lot of people have kind of different definitions of what mentoring is. And obviously COVID changes the game as far as face-to-face interactions. But kind of give me a brief definition of what you believe mentorship means, and how do you apply it in a unique way?
I mean, I would say it's pretty simple, man. Mentorship is really just this idea that someone who doesn't necessarily have to be older, but someone who is more experienced, who's seen a little bit of life, takes the time and opportunity and energy to pour into someone who is going on that same journey, or even on a different journey, right? So it's just this idea that those of us who have been there, man, we take the time to reach back and pull up the young men and women who are coming up behind us. And mentorship, while it's not easy, because it does take time, energy, and effort. I mean, in order to be a good mentor, I think it's important that, one, you got to have something to give, right? So you got to be consistently pouring into yourself.
Absolutely.
You got to be reading, you got to be learning, you got to be growing yourself, so that I have something to provide whoever I might be mentoring. Now, I'll tell you this too, man, and I really would like for Ron to jump in here and give me his thoughts on this, but not everybody is mentor ready. And that's both from the mentor and the protege or mentee standpoint. So from a mentor standpoint, again, if you're not pointing to yourself, if you don't have anything to give, if you don't have patience, if you don't have, understanding, then you're not necessarily ready to be a mentor. And then from the protege or mentee standpoint, if you hard headed, if you stuck in your old ways, if you don't really take advice well and don't want to hear things, sometimes you need training, or sometimes you need to learn to stumble and fall before you can accept the mentorship that somebody might be trying to give you. And I'll tell you, during my time in the military, there's this fine line between me being your mentor, which means sometimes I'm going to be really, really tough on you. And some people mistake that for toxic leadership. They mistake it for, someone who might not have the best interest in mind. But the one thing I could tell with Joe Wimbush, with Ron, with JD, Mike Warner and Vicky Gamble, all the people who mentored me, no matter how tough the conversations got, man, I always felt like they had my best interest in mind.
Absolutely.
Ron, what do you think?
Brother, I think you're right on it, man. I mean, honestly, there is no 100% method to getting this right. And I'm going to break it down to the most basic level that's always been able to make sense in my mind. It goes down to basic caring. When I was a young airman way back in the day, and people took time. We didn't even use the word mentoring. It was just people actually caring about young Airman Draper and spending a little time to understand him first, to understand where he was trying to get to, and to get me on the track, on the right path in order to achieve my goals, no matter how big or how lofty or how small those goals were. And the follow-up in that relationship was unbelievable. I think you hit it perfectly, K, right, when you said it goes from both sides. You can't mentor somebody who is not trying to be mentored. Or everybody honestly can't be a mentor, because some people who think they're mentors need to be mentored. So it is a unique place in life where you get to where you say, all right, am I at the place where I need to be mentored, or am I at that place where I can truly take some of the skills that I've had in my past given to me and pass on to others? I think it's a beautiful place to be on either side. I think honestly, we all need that person in our life to help us get to whatever we're trying to achieve or whatever goal we're trying to reach in life. And when you're blessed to have that person, I don't care what that person looks like, what they act like, who they are. When you're blessed to have that person that cares enough just to sit down with you and spend a little time with you, it's a beautiful thing. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Kay, right? But back in the day when me and you first met, it was an immediate connection. It was immediate connection. But I honestly didn't see that the individual that I'm talking to right now has the ability to be a command chief, a NAV chief, a MAGCOM chief, a chief master sergeant Air Force. It was just a relationship of a true human being. I saw something in you. I was like, that's a good human. It was really that basic. This is a good human that I want to try to invest something into that could possibly, one, help him, and also give him the ability to help others. It was really that basic and that simple. And I was hoping, as I continue to still drop in the people that I meet in this walk that I'm blessed to be on daily, I'm hoping everybody that I make contact with, same as you, would be able to get to where you wanted to get to, and to also pay it forward and give it to others. The only person that I think saw something in you that I didn't see, and I think she may have told you this one time before, but the first time Linda, my wife, met you, she told me after you left my office that first time, she said, that's going to be the chief master sergeant Air Force one day. And I looked at her like, are you crazy? I said, that's K, right? That's not going to be the chief master sergeant Air Force. But it just goes to show that you had something in you, good human. It goes to show that something was there the whole time. So when you name the names like JD, Vicky Gamble, Mike Warner, me, and on, that, that helped foster you, brother, it was there the whole time. And all we did was like put a little paint on it and made it right and put it out there, man. So, I think you're right on it, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I appreciate everything y'all did. And tell Linda I said thanks, man.
Yeah, I definitely will, brother.
So, gentlemen, as we talk about the importance of mentorship, we got to recognize that not everybody's the same, right? Not everybody is just the extrovert, the person that's very personable, willing to approach somebody out of thin air. So how do we reach those folks who are kind of sort of to themselves, that have untapped potential, but are still just these individuals that can do great things for our Air Force?
Kendall, I really believe, man, it's a shared responsibility, right? There's a responsibility for me to pay attention to the introvert, the quiet person, the person that just goes about doing their job on a regular basis, and invest in them, to approach them and ask them, how are they doing? What are your career goals? Whatever it is, I think they might need help with. And then I think there's also a responsibility on that person, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it really doesn't matter, to be willing to say, hey, K. Wright, hey, Mr. Draper, would you mind having lunch? Would you mind having a cup of coffee? You don't have to, show up with a formal contract. Will you be my mentor? Sometimes just hey, you got 5 minutes turns into a lifetime of mentoring and coaching and a partnership. So I think I would just encourage, everybody who's listening and all of the folks out there, no matter how shy you are, you may not have to approach them in public, but even if you send an email, or if you just stop by somebody's office and ask them for 5 minutes, if they're worth their salt as a leader, they'll give you that 5 minutes, and probably a whole lot more. So, and it takes a little bit of courage, I think, from all of us. And so when you have it, both the group of people in this world who are mentors, looking for people to help out, and when you have the group of people who are looking to advance their lives and their careers, looking for mentors, man, it's a beautiful thing, and you eventually, tend to find each other. But so I would say, the greatest responsibility is on the folks who have the knowledge and should be looking to pour into others. But there's also a responsibility on the people who are up and coming, to not be shy and to say, hey, I just need 5 minutes to talk to you about life, professional, personal, whatever it might be.
Awesome. What about you, Mr. Draper?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that two thoughts that come to mind. One, I don't think we need to put the heavy title of mentor on the relationship. Sometimes that makes it awkward. If I'm being made to feel like I've got to go out and find mentors, then that possibly could scare introvert, extrovert, whoever you're talking about. That scares people away, because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Because first of all, I don't know who I'm looking for to begin with. Then I've got to go out there and find people who I think are willing to invest and pour into me. And that is not always easy to do. I think from the mentor standpoint, if you're out there and you're treating everybody equally. So if you care about everybody equally, guess what? People are going to come to you. I mean, you can think about me and you, Kendall. I mean, I don't have time to go through the whole story on how me and you met, but somehow you landed in my office and we built what we have today. And that wasn't the first time you met me. I didn't have a sign in my right hand saying, guess what? I'm a mentor. If you need me, come see me at building 670. It didn't happen that way. It was a few words of conversation that led to a week later, a few words and another conversation. Then you're in my office. And then before you know it, me and you were talking about everything from raising families to investing in the stock market to whatever you want to talk about. And that's what true mentorship looks like. Like K. Wright said, if it comes down to me showing up in your office with a 2-page contract saying, sir, these are your responsibilities, or ma'am, these are your responsibilities, and this is what I'm going to bring to the table, that's probably not going to work. It's got to feel more natural and normal. And then what you want out of that mentor-mentee relationship, you don't want it just to last a season. It shouldn't be something that just lasts at RAF Mildenhall, where I get a chance to spend 12 months with you, and then you PCS and go to base X, and I go here and we never talk again. A real mentor and mentee relationship is a relationship that should last a lifetime.
I completely agree. And I think you're speaking about this fluidity of just developing a connection with someone that could be seamless and timeless, really. If done correctly. You spoke about, Mr. Draper, some of the topics that we discuss as mentor and mentee. I mean, we talk about everything, man. We talk about stocks, we talk about family life, the whole nine. When you're a mentor, what are some of the things that you're looking to put in the mind of a young person and kind of get them thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the line. So they end up being the chief master sergeants. They end up being the officers of the world, or, just continuing to be the best selves they can possibly be. What conversations do you have? What do you put in their head?
Well, I think I've learned over the years, and so this mentor thing is always a work in progress. I've learned over the years is I don't want to put anything in your head. I want you to drive, where we go, what we talk about, what's really important to you in your future and even your present, and then let that determine what advice I might offer you. I think there's something to be said about, somebody telling me this is what you need to do, this is what you need to think about, this is what you need to be aware of, versus someone asking me and exploring with me what my goals are, and then being able to say, okay, based on you wanting to be a chief or a colonel or astronaut or the president, here are some things that you might want to think about. Give me your thoughts on this, and really allowing the mentee to drive, where you go. I want to be a good accountability partner. I want to be a good, person that is a navigator for you. But I don't want to drive the relationship as a mentor like I used to. I used to be all, hey, you need to do this. You need to think about this. You need to take this class. You need to, as opposed to, as I've grown, I've learned to allow the mentee to drive, where we're going. I'm going to be the navigator. I'm going to help, make sure that once I understand where you're trying to go, okay, we got a roadblock here. How you plan on dealing with it, right? And I think that's much more helpful in these types of relationships, because you get to a certain extent determine your own future with just a little bit of help from me or whomever your mentor might be. So really to answer your question is, man, I want to talk about wherever you want to go, whatever things concern you, whatever things that you might be interested in. I want to help you get there. Now, there's always a time when I see things that you're probably not thinking about, and I might introduce that into the conversation, into the relationship. For example, like you and Mr. Draper talk about investing. If through our conversations I see you're not thinking about or preparing for the future, then I might ask you, hey, what do you know about investing? What do you know about the stock market? And then that might drive future conversations and actions that you might need to engage in to help build a better future for you and your family.
Absolutely, sir. Walk me through the process of acquiring a mentor, and walk me through the process of maintaining that relationship from a mentee and mentor standpoint.
I'll go first, and then I'll let Ron jump in. Here's all you got to do, man, to get a mentor. Practice brilliance in the basics. Be really good at the basic things. So you just came in the Air Force. Be really good at your job. Be really professional. Make sure you wear your uniform properly. I mean, if you practice brilliance in just the basic things, I guarantee you somebody will notice and say, oh man, I like this guy, I like this girl. I want to make sure she gets where she's trying to go. And then once somebody latches on to you, and also just be curious, right? Ask a lot of questions and seek out people that you admire, that you think are doing great. They don't have to be in your career field. They don't even have to be in the military, but just be brilliant in the basics and always be curious. And I think the way you keep the relationship going is just like any relationship, right? You have to cultivate it in a meaningful way. And that means don't just come to Mr. Draper every time you need something. Sometimes just pop in and say, hey, Brother Ron, I didn't need anything, man. I was just calling to see how you was doing, make sure you're doing okay. Anything I can do for you, right? And that begins to cultivate a relationship that says, okay, this is going to be meaningful for both of us. If every time I hear from you is I'm in trouble. I need money. I need advice. I need this. I need that. It doesn't mean that someone like myself or Ron, I've been doing this for a long time, we won't continue to invest. But when you talk about maintaining that relationship over time, through multiple bases, through multiple years, like Ron mentioned earlier, I mean, I got, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 Kendall Fosters, just like you, right? That I met when they were A1Cs and now they're master sergeants and whatnot, that I've stayed connected to for a long time. A lot of it is because we have that relationship where it's not just, hey, Pops, I need something. It's hey man, happy birthday. I was just checking on you, and I do the same thing for them. So it's not as hard as, just like Ron said, it's not as hard as what you think to get a mentor. Again, mentors don't need to walk around with a sign, and mentees don't need to walk around with a contract, and all this other stuff. It's, hey man, you take care of business, and somebody will notice. And as a leader, if you're taking care of business, guess what? Somebody's going to notice, and somebody's going to say, man, I want to be like that guy, or I want to learn from that girl. And again, it'll happen organically.
Awesome. What about you, Mr. Draper?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it should feel almost normal. You know what I'm saying? If the relationship doesn't feel so, and I've been in relationships with mentors, and when I was the mentee and vice versa, when it didn't feel normal, and those fizzle out for whatever reason, for whatever reason. But like K. Wright said, if you are going about your day-to-day life in the Air Force or wherever you at, and you're being the best person you can be, guess what? Someone's always watching you. You may not think about it, but it's impossible to walk around RAF Mildenhall. Impossible to walk out of a dorm room or to drive through the gate in the morning. And before you make it to 9 o'clock in the morning, I guarantee you 20 people have somehow noticed what you're doing. Like K. Wright said, how you look, how you present yourself, how you talk, whatever. So someone's always watching you. And when those people are watching you, the same way you watch people, that's when the first thing comes into mind and say, you know what? I want to get to know a little bit more about that individual. I don't have a clue who that is, but based on an action he or she just displayed to me, I'm interested. I want to get to know more about them, or vice versa. Maybe a young airman or a young staff sergeant sees an old Mr. Draper walking around and says, you know what? I saw him last week say so and so and so. I don't have a clue who it is, but I want to find him and go to where he's at just to chat. And I think it should start off that basic. I don't think it should be something that's rigid. It should be something where there's some type of attraction from the mentor to mentee, or mentee to a mentor. And then you come together and start talking. And then within that first 1 or 2 meetings, you're going to know, is this the right person? Because it may not be. You may have thought that I said something that made you think that could be the person that could possibly be in my back pocket, that I could lean on, that I could talk to, build a relationship with, could help me understand my goals, to allow me to realize my goals and to achieve my goals. But you may get that connection going, and after 1 or 2 meetings, you realize, you know what, he's a great guy, but it's not for me. All connections, it's just like any other relationship. It's like any other relationship. It may work, it may not work. But I do agree with what the chief said. It comes from both sides. I think there's some serious level of ownership on both sides. You know what I'm saying? You can't be calling me when you just need something. It's a relationship. It's just like my daughter. We have a great relationship because we have the ability to communicate on a daily basis about anything and everything. Now that took years to grow, but if my own daughter called me every day and the conversation started off with, Dad, I need $25. How long do you think that conversation would, how long will that relationship really last? It's the same thing. It's give, take, give. Yeah. I appreciate the relationship because I think it introduces you to things that you've never thought about. I could easily surround myself with a group of peers that have the exact same experience as me, that have had the exact same walk as me, that are the same age as me. And then you have to ask yourself, all right, so if that's all I surrounded myself with, how productive are those men and women really going to be? I think it's great because when you have and most of your mentees are younger than you. It's rare. I'm not saying you can't have mentees that are the same age or older than you, but it's rare that you have a mentor-mentee relationship of somebody that's the exact same age. What I appreciate it is, and I don't think your average mentee really realizes that they're teaching you stuff because they're so locked into learning from you that when they leave the setting, they don't know that they just poured just as much into you as you poured into them. Some of the best lessons that I've learned is listening. Listening is a valuable skill. Even as a mentor, listening is a valuable skill. You don't have to just give. Sometimes laying back, relaxing, understanding what individuals are talking about teaches you a lot about yourself. In this race that we're all blessed to either be in right now or have been in uniform in the past, we're taught to run at 150 miles an hour. That's just what we do. But some of the best lessons I've learned from a lot of my mentees is it's all right to exhale. It's all right to have a cup of tea. It's all right to go on vacation. It's all right to take care of yourself. Self-care is one of the most important things that I think I missed when I wore the uniform for almost 27 years. And I think Kaleth Wright would tell you the same thing. If he could go do it all over again, I guarantee you self-care was nothing that was on the top of his priority list. So it's great to see people look at things through a different set of lenses that can drop little nuggets on your desk. And when you walk out, you be like, you know what? Hey, that wasn't about mentee to mentor, but guess what? I just learned that I'm doing this totally wrong. I've got to take care of myself in order to be able to take care of others. I've got to be able to become a better listener. I think I'm a better father and a better husband because of some of the nuggets that people have dropped on my desk about relationships. You know, when I thought I was mentoring them on relationships, they were actually saying things that caused me to lean back and say, you know what? I haven't shown Linda that I've loved her enough by doing X, X, and X, because guess what? I've been so locked into the job on the base and other airmen and stuff, I wasn't even taking care of home. So it's just small things that you think don't really mean a lot that cause you to lean back and say, you know what, bam, I'm getting just as much from this relationship as the other person is.
Outside of a face-to-face, person-to-person relationship, what type of mentorships opportunities are out there that are a little bit unorthodox, a little bit off-key and off-beat? Maybe things like reading books or watching podcasts. Kind of walk me through as far as what would you look at, Chief, if you couldn't engage in a kind of a contemporary, traditional mentorship opportunity?
Well, to be honest, Kendall, unless I was on Mars, if I need to talk to somebody, I'm going to talk to them, man. It's 2021. And,
Yes,
there's too much technology available, just like what we're doing now, right? And I have several people that reach out to me, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, somehow they get my cell phone number or email and reach out, and then we develop, whatever relationship. So for me, anyway, there is, not being able to speak to someone just is not an option, right? So I don't know what to tell anybody about that. I just think that with the technology that's available, there's always a way that you can at least virtually connect with someone that you want to be a mentor for. But to your other point, I think you can learn a lot from, I'm an avid reader. I listen to podcasts, every single day. I listen to audiobooks and whatnot. So there's a lot to be learned knowledge-wise, right? But knowledge is not necessarily the key to success. You can develop and store a lot of knowledge, but the key to success, man, is when you can take that knowledge and transition into wisdom, right? And sometimes that's where a mentor comes in that tells you, okay, you've read this, you've read these principles. Here's how to apply it. Here's some of the barriers that you might face when you begin to apply it. And oh, by the way, things rarely happen the way that they are written in the policies and in the books, right? So a lot of times, you'll need to adjust how you take on this concept or how you deal with this person. And you won't be able to take everything that you read or hear literally. Sometimes it takes a little bit of interpretation. And you can think of your mentor, man, as that, right? As an interpreter. Hey, this is a language, I kind of understand it, but the interpreter, the mentor comes in and says, okay, let me help you understand what that really means and how it applies in this situation. I'm trying to learn Spanish and I could probably order, lunch or something. But if I ever go to a Spanish speaking country or somewhere where the predominant language is Spanish, I'm going to need an interpreter, in the sense of a mentor to help me contextualize and really understand the situation that I'm trying to embark upon. So again, I love, and I'm always promoting reading and podcasts and articles and whatnot. But there's something also to be said about having someone to help you take that information and really, really understand how to apply it and what to do with it. Ron mentioned it earlier. There's great value in it, and many times it happens organically, right? We don't have to do a formal switcheroo for me to learn something from you. Just like Ron mentioned, I'm always learning from the people that I'm spending time with, right? And the reason I'm always learning. One of the skills that Ron said that he's developed. The reason that I'm always learning is because I'm always listening.
Right.
And I'm always curious, and I'm always asking questions and trying to better understand your situation, your life, your goals, your path to success. And so I have no choice but to be growing myself because I'm always listening. And I'm okay, right? If we do the formal switcheroo, okay, now Kendall, you're the mentor, teach me something, or I got a question for you. But really, it's already happening, man. It's happening organically. If I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a mentor, which is staying curious, asking questions, and being a good listener.
How about you, Mr. Jacob?
I agree with him 100%. But I tell you what, I would like to hear what you got to say, Kendall. I mean, so from coming from a person who's been in the Air Force for 3 years, and being the sponge that you are and trying to grab everything you possibly can. What do you think about that? I mean, is there, when you're in those relationships, do you think the person that's mentoring you is getting just as much from you, or do you find yourself mentoring the mentor more than the mentor is mentoring you? What do you think?
I would hope so. I will hope that first the individual sees that I am indeed that sponge and is looking at me with a level of respect because I'm coming to the individual with a level of humility that's appropriate. I believe everyone has something to teach. It's just a matter of can you articulate it and can you convey it in a way that makes sense for the average person. I think there's a lot of latent talent sitting in airmen, sitting in NCOs, particularly individuals who might not be the most personable, but they're so smart. I've met so many people that I think are borderline genius in our Air Force that are just, you gotta kind of approach them in a different way, be a little bit more tactful with regard to how you approach them, because not obviously everybody's different. But once that happens, once the individuals are able to empathize with each other and there's a connection there, you can learn anything from anybody. I truly believe that. I think it makes it a little bit more difficult because we're in a warfighting entity, right? There's a level of discipline, there's a level of professionalism that makes it a little bit more difficult to kind of relax in those situations and be yourself. But I think if the mentee is able to do that and say, hey, I'm a person too, show me what you got, show me what you've learned throughout your life. Take me throughout your 18 or 20 years that you've been living. There's got to be something that that I don't. And if those types of opportunities are given to some of our younger service members in our military, I think we can see a lot more fruitful relationships. And I think that mentorship will become cool, because at this point, oftentimes it's like mastermind situations, it's behind closed doors. It's, you got to access the chief master sergeants of the world in order to get here and here and here. Well, if everyone is building this infrastructure, this brotherhood and this sisterhood in the military, and we really truly get back to that, we honor our warrior ethos, we honor our true principles, and get back to the basics. which is mentorship. I think mentorship truly shapes our world, truly shapes our Air Force, truly shapes society, truly shapes our leaders. If we can make that cool, and we can make it cool where it's no longer the most wisest, the oldest person in the room is teaching all the time and are learning, I think we're doing something crazy. We're doing something big.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it can't feel like a job. Because when it feels like a job, I'm gonna get tired of doing it like any other thing. You know what I'm saying? If it feels like work, guess what? I'm only gonna do it for so long, and I'm only gonna do it to the best of my ability for so long. And then nobody is gonna win. It's got to get to a place. I don't know if you took that word cool for me. That sounds like it's a little bit older than you. I mean, honestly, it's got to get to a place. Yeah, it's got to get to a place where it feels normal, where it feels cool just to have those basic relationships. I think you hit it on the head.
Chief, where would you be without mentorship?
I don't know if I'd quite be in jail, but I certainly wouldn't be in the Air Force, because without mentorship, I wouldn't have made it through my first enlistment. And I likely wouldn't be sitting in this office in Crystal City in Arlington, Virginia, because without mentorship, I wouldn't have made it to be a chief. And I certainly wouldn't have made it to be the chief master in the Air Force. So I don't want to speculate on where I would have been or what I might be doing. I'll just tell you I wouldn't be where I am today, not just from a position standpoint, but from a personal standpoint, as an individual, as a man, as a professional. I would not be where I am today without the power of Joe Winbush, J.D. Davis, Vicki Gamble, Cal Williams, so many of the people that poured into me, Kevin Meade, Tony Jones, my basketball coach when I was in Korea and whatnot. A lot of people poured into me, and I certainly wouldn't have enjoyed the successes in life that I have without those people deciding to be mentors for me.
Chief, I just want to tell you a quick story. I obviously kind of reserved this for the podcast, but I met you before. I met you way back. You did a kind of a panel over at Andrews Air Force Base, and it was about an hour, and kind of spoke about this exact topic. And someone in the audience asked you, where would you be without or mentorship, or how were you as a A1C? And you kind of answered the same way as that I would be in I don't think I would be in jail. But some of the things that you said that day stuck with me obviously up until this point, and being able to meet you is full circle. Because I always looked at you as a mentor without even meeting you. I think those types of relationships are much more common than you think. You hear someone say something in a speech, or you just watch them and you just like marvel at their character and view them as something that you will one day hope to achieve. So I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to have this full circle moment, sir. Obviously, you didn't know that was even whatever comes a thing. You didn't know I was in the audience, but I truly appreciate you then, and I truly appreciate you now, sir.
Yeah, man, that's ironic. I remember that, and I remember being over at Andrews and having that opportunity to speak to the audience. And I think we tackled some fairly tough subjects, and we had some really good questions. And one of the things that if I recall correctly, that I mentioned, during that time, man, was the importance of allowing young people to speak, man, to have their voice. Because sometimes when young people like yourself, man, start to tell us, about ourselves, we immediately go to excuses about why this and why that, and you're wrong, and you're just young, and the Air Force has changed, and all this kind of stuff. And I was pretty adamant about, no, man, just listen. let them speak, let them have their opportunity. So I'm glad we not only had that chance to cross paths, but man, I'm honored that you and Brother Ron, man, allowed me this opportunity to spend some time. We've already talked a little bit during the pre-session about your future and what you might be doing, and hey man, I'm Team Foster just like Ron, and anything that I can do to help you get to where you're trying to go, man, I'm excited about it, and I'm looking forward to not only helping you but learning from you, just like Brother Ron said.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, we don't want to keep you too long. I know you at work and you got mountains to move. So, sir, I just want to take the opportunity again to thank you for taking the time to just sit with us and talk to our audience about something that means so much to you, means so much to me, Mr. Draper, and hopefully our audience. With that being said, sir, any last words?
Well, again, let me just say thank you, for really this opportunity, man. It's been an honor and really a joy to talk to you, man. I love to see people like yourself. Again, you remind me of Terrence Jenkins and Ron. You probably remember Zach too, Zach Pease.
I talked to him 7 days ago.
Yeah, man, really, really sharp guys, just like yourself, and I just love to see it, man. I think just like those guys, man, we'll be connected from this point forward, and you always know where to find me if you ever need anything. So keep up the great work that you've been doing, man. The sky is the limit, right? All you got to do is just like the alchemist. We talked about this, right? You decide what it is that you want in life, and the universe will conspire to help you achieve it. So I'm just looking forward, man, to riding shotgun and watching you work. So thanks again, Kendall, and of course, thanks to my brother Ron Drake.
Yeah, brother, great to see you. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Thanks again for joining us for our first episode of Fostering the Next Generation. Our hope is that you were able to extract some value out of the conversation and use the wisdom gained to grow as an individual and to actualize your potential as a mentor or mentee. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our guest, Chief Master Sergeant Kaleth Wright, my co-host of the episode, Mr. Draper, and our producer and director, Technical Sergeant Landon Skaith, and the rest of the DC-3 team here at RAF Mildenhall. Please be on the lookout for our next episode, as we will have a very special guest here for a robust conversation. In addition to the next episode, we'll be launching our second podcast, Foster's Lounge, in the interim. Foster's Lounge will be a post-analysis of the first episode of Fostering the Next Generation, where we will have the opportunity to contextualize and reflect on some of the concepts, great advice, and discussion of the previous episode. So please be on the lookout for that. That's it for us. Thank you for watching. Let's get busy fostering the next generation.